Kubica set to stage greatest comeback in F1 history at Australian GP. Miracle Man Robert Kubica claims blanking out the horror of his life-changing car crash has been the key to his astonishing recovery. Kubica will make the greatest comeback in Formula One history at next month's season-opening Australian Grand Prix. 8 years ago today, the Polish driver was seriously injured when his Skoda Fabia smashed into a barrier on the first stage of the Ronde di Andora rally. He suffered a partial amputation of his forearm, plus a fractured elbow, shoulder and leg. But incredibly, after more than 20 operations, the new Williams driver is ready to resume his F1 career. In an exclusive interview with SunSport, Kubica, 34, said, "Days before that rally I woke up and didn't want to go. I had a strange feeling. But after the accident, I was not angry or upset with myself. It wasn't as if someone pointed a gun at me. I can still remember a lot about it. But the big part of my recovery, both mentally and physically, was not to think too much about it. But I've not completely deleted it as it was a life-changing moment, not only as a racer but a human." An unconscious Kubica was trapped in the car for more than an hour. He lost 5 liters of blood and medics feared for his life. He was airlifted to Santa Corona Hospital in Italy, where 2 teams of 7 doctors operated to save his arm. 2 further intricate surgeries followed in the space of 10 days. Still he was back behind the wheel within 6 months. Kubica admitted, "There were a lot of dark moments. But the toughest were when you struggled mentally rather than physically. The worst moments were when I had good periods of recovery and was going to surgery with high hopes and optimism. But when I woke up, I experienced the opposite. It was like putting a knife in your chest. You have all that positivity and end up going 6 months backwards." We met at the Williams F1 HQ in Grove, Oxfordshire, where Kubica is back at work after a winter training camp in Tenerife. He added, "In my recovery I'd have better and worse days, but where I made the difference was when I accepted what happened. Then you start discovering yourself and rebuilding everything. Your brain starts to learn your limitations and accept it. Before I would pick up this glass with my right hand, I had to change that. It is the same for daily living as it was for driving. You have to restart. You cannot refresh and come back to the same page you were at. You have to start building on what remained." But his hopes of returning to duty with Renault, his F1 team at the time, appeared in tatters. Kubica said, "Considering for 3 months I was not walking and another 2 months I was in a wheelchair, I drove quite early. I was as fast as before, which was more difficult to accept, because I had my limitations. That's why when I started my comeback it was with rallies rather than F1 circuits. I did not want to be reminded what it could be or what it should be. It was a case of getting a new challenge and new focus. It was like having an open wound and, every time I went to a racetrack, I was bleeding again. I could have forgotten about F1 but, as I started to get closer to the circuit, I finally had the feeling I wanted to be back." Kubica will be the second oldest driver on the grid in Melbourne. Kimi Räikkönen is 39, as he prepares to make his second F1 debut. Kubica said, "The accident has made me more emotional. Before I was like a machine. I won a race in Canada and was happy but I didn't celebrate. The accident has changed me quite a lot. I am now much more sensitive and emotional. You have to learn how to control those emotions, and while I am not scared of them, I just hope they have a positive effect on me."